was standing on the hot tarmac of a small international airport in Southeast Asia when I first heard his name spoken in hushed voices, not by journalists, not by airline executives, but by mechanics men who had spent their entire lives around metal, fuel, torque wrenches, and the unforgiving physics of flight. They spoke of him with the kind of respect usually reserved for pilots who land burning planes or engineers who design aircraft from scratch. His name was Joel, a Filipino aircraft mechanic, quiet, unassuming. The kind of man you would walk past without a second glance. And yet, according to everyone who was there that day, he prevented an airplane crash using nothing but instinct, something no manual, no checklist, and no certification could ever teach. This is what happened. Joel had been working overseas for nearly 9 years. Like millions of Filipinos, he left home not because he wanted adventure, but because he wanted stability. He trained as an aircraft maintenance technician back in the Philippines, studied long nights under flickering fluorescent lights, memorized systems most people never think about, and passed exams where one mistake could end a career before it even started. When he finally landed a contract abroad, it wasn't glamorous. He wasn't assigned to brand new aircraft or first-class hangars. He worked the night shift, often alone, inspecting planes between flights, tightening bolts no passenger would ever see, listening to engines long after the cabin lights had gone dark. He was known for being slow, not lazy, but deliberate. While others rushed to meet turnaround times, Joel lingered. He touched panels twice. He listened longer. He trusted his ears as much as his instruments. Other mechanics teased him for it. "You're not a pilot," one once told him. "You don't need to feel the plane." Joel just smiled and went back to work. On the night everything changed, the aircraft was an aging but reliable narrow-body jet scheduled for an early morning departure. Nearly 170 passengers would be onboard families, business travelers, migrant workers heading home. The plane had arrived late, which meant the maintenance window was tight. The logbook showed nothing alarming. Routine post-flight inspection. No reported issues from the previous crew. Everything on paper looked normal. Joel had already finished most of the checks when something stopped him. It wasn't a warning light. It wasn't a visible crack or leak. It wasn't anything listed in the maintenance manual. It was a feeling. As he stood beneath the right wing, the auxiliary power unit humming faintly, he felt something was off. The sound wasn't wrong enough to be obvious, but it wasn't right either. A subtle irregularity. A vibration that didn't match the rhythm he'd heard thousands of times before. Another mechanic walked past and asked, "You done?" Joel hesitated. "Almost. You good?" Joel nodded, but didn't move. He pressed his palm against the fuselage, closed his eyes, listened. Later, when investigators asked him how he knew something was wrong, this was all he could say. The plane felt tired. That sentence would end up in an internal report, confusing engineers and fascinating pilots. Joel requested permission to recheck the hydraulic system connected to the flight control surfaces. The supervisor frowned. There was no indication of a problem. Delaying the flight would cost money. Passengers were already boarding. "Is there a fault?" the supervisor asked. "No," Joel said honestly. "Not yet." That answer almost got him sent home. But something in Joel's voice, quiet, steady, certain, made the supervisor pause. He allowed a limited reinspection. 10 minutes. No more. Joel climbed back up, opened access panels he had already inspected once, and this time he didn't rush. He followed the lines with his fingers, not just his eyes. He smelled the air. He watched how fluid settled instead of how it flowed. Then he saw it, a microscopic abrasion on a hydraulic line. Barely visible, not leaking, not failing, but worn in a way that didn't match its expected service life. It had been rubbing just slightly against a neighboring component due to vibration over time. On the ground, it was fine. In the air, under pressure, heat, and load, it would not have been. Joel's chest tightened. If that line ruptured after takeoff, it could lead to partial loss of control. Not guaranteed catastrophe, but enough to turn a routine flight into a fight for survival. He radioed the supervisor. The response was skeptical. "It's within tolerance." Joel swallowed. "Sir," he said carefully, It won't be in 30 minutes. Silence. Then, you're sure? Joel looked at the line again. Thought about the passengers boarding. Thought about his own family back home, watching planes cross the sky and trusting people like him without ever knowing their names. Yes, he said. I'm sure. The flight was delayed. Passengers complained. Crew waited. Managers made phone calls. Another inspection team was called in. They debated, measured, calculated. Not catastrophically, but enough to prove Joel right. The room went quiet. Had the aircraft taken off, the failure would have happened mid-climb. Joel didn't celebrate. He didn't say, "I told you so." He simply stepped back and let the others do their jobs. The aircraft was grounded. The part was replaced. The flight eventually departed hours later safely. Most passengers never knew how close they came to disaster, but the pilots did. When the captain learned what had happened, he walked into the maintenance bay and asked who caught it. Someone pointed at Joel. The captain shook his hand and said, "You saved my aircraft." Joel replied, "I just listened." Word spread quickly within aviation circles. Not publicly, airlines don't like headlines about near misses, but internally. Joel's report was shared in safety briefings. His decision became a case study. What fascinated experts wasn't just that he found the fault. It was how there was no alarm, no checklist item, no requirement that forced him to look again. It was experience, pattern recognition, and something harder to define. Intuition built from years of respect for machines that can forgive mistakes. Psychologists later explained it as subconscious processing. His brain had noticed a mismatch between expected and actual sensory input. Engineers called it tacit knowledge. Joel called it pakiramdam. In Filipino culture, pakiramdam is the ability to sense things beyond words, to read a room, a situation, a moment. It's often talked about in relationships or social settings. That night, pakiramdam saved an airplane. After the incident, Joel was offered a supervisory role. He declined at first. He liked working with his hands. He liked being close to the aircraft. Eventually, he accepted a training position not to manage, but to teach. Today, he tells younger mechanics something no manual includes. Tools are important, he says. Rules are important, but don't forget to listen. Planes talk. You just have to respect them enough to hear. Passengers still board planes every day without knowing his name. That's how aviation safety works. Quiet heroes, invisible success. But somewhere in the sky, every time a plane climbs smoothly after takeoff, there's a chance it's because someone like Joel paused, trusted his instinct, and chose safety over speed. And that instinct, shaped by discipline, humility, and years of unseen work, is something no doctor, no engineer, no textbook alone can teach. It has to be lived. And on one ordinary night, it saved lives.